Everyone. So the Milwaukee Bucks were the championship favorites this year. Many people thought that they were the team to come out the Eastern Conference, and then they were the best team during the regular season, had the best player on the planet, led by a really good, solid veteran squad, and this kind of felt like this might be the last chance for Milwaukee with this current team, right? As great as they were, as great on the defensive end, offensive end, all of that stuff, championship level coach, all of that, it was like, okay, well, they're starting to get older. Are they going to kind of start shaking things up next season? But hey, they have a real opportunity to go get this W this year. And then they ran into the Miami Heat and playoff Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler sent them home in the first round in 5 games, which was absolutely remarkable. Now, to be fair, Giannis missed like half of that series. And if he was healthy from day one, would that have been the same outcome? Maybe not. But it showed a lot of glaring issues with the Milwaukee Bucks. And now it looks like Milwaukee has began the stages of blowing and shaking things up, which is something I talked about after their loss. So the Milwaukee Bucks, in breaking news, have fired Mike Budenholzer, who was their head coach for 5 seasons and won the NBA championship with them. Now, this is not really a huge shock, considering the circumstances, right? He lost in the first round. Also, a lot of people kind of put it on Budenholzer, right? When like Miami went on that 13-0 run or whatever it was at the end of games, he had timeouts and he chose not to call timeouts. His timeout selection was really a big concern, which I also think is really funny because after that moment, like every coach in the playoffs all started calling timeouts after like teams went on like 4-0 runs and stuff. It was just something that maybe it was just one of those things that we're just looking out for more. But I saw even a lot of people in the comment section be like, am I the only one that notices that like all these coaches are now calling timeouts every 20 seconds when a team goes on a run, which again, I think is just funny. But look, Budenholzer, championship level coach, he won a championship. There are questions with him, and even there were questions with the Milwaukee Bucks and their title run, but nonetheless, they won the title, right? They were the best team. They got it done. They had the best player. Giannis completely just went monster to close that series out. And Budenholzer, I do think he will land someplace else, right? He's 53 years old for a coach that's relatively young. He has experience, has led a team to one of the best timeout or records, period. And the big thing were the timeouts, right? That was like the big question mark with him. Outside of that, he's done a good job. Now, I've talked about this in the past where, you know, guys like Budenholzer, you see, he doesn't like to use it. He likes his players to figure it out. He likes his players to play out. Sometimes his rotations are even questionable, right? He'll sit like Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis at the same time, especially during the regular season stuff. And so there were a lot of things that were questionable, but when you're winning and you're having success, all of that stuff doesn't matter. It's considered wise, and he knows what he's doing when that type of thing happens. But then when something like this happens, and it's the reason you lose, well, it's like, well, what have you done for me lately? And that's a real thing. And when you're looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, they have Giannis. And they have, outside of Giannis, a relatively older team. And they have a lot of question marks, right? Chris Middleton, he's a guy that can go and sign with a new team this coming season. And based on reports, teams like the Houston Rockets are considering him. What do they do with Drew Holiday? Do they keep Drew Holiday? Do they try to trade him? What do they do with the guys on the roster, period? Because Giannis is still only 28 years old. So he still has 5 years at minimum of just quality prime before he starts getting in that, 33, 34 age where it's like, okay, which direction is he going to go? But he's not a guy that relies insanely on his athleticism. It's more of just like his strength, getting in the interior and the post. Problem is he can't really shoot. So as he gets older, is that going to become a problem? But Milwaukee, I don't know who you can get as a coach that is going to be a better candidate. Like, there's not a lot of like these top elite tier coaches out there right now that you could acquire. Like Ime Udoka was one that would have made a lot of sense, but he went and signed with the Houston Rockets. Quinn Snyder is another one that maybe would have made a lot of sense. He signed with the Atlanta Hawks. They look into somebody like, Nick Nurse, right? Nick Nurse from Toronto ended up leaving. But is he really better than Budenholzer? I don't know. I mean, they both have a chip, but Nick Nurse, his only really major success was with Kawhi Leonard. I don't know. Is he really an upgrade over Budenholzer? I don't necessarily think so. Maybe, maybe just for a new look and a new change of scenery, maybe that's something that they could do. But regardless, I really think that this is the direction that they're heading to begin the shakeup. I would not be surprised at all if they let Chris Middleton go. Maybe look to trade a couple pieces too. It's just how patient is Giannis going to be willing to be, right? If he says, hey, I'll give you, like 2 years to figure this out, then maybe they can start retooling things now, get a little younger, start unloading guys. But if it's one of those things where he's like, no, like I need to contend now. I'm 28. I'm trying to build a legacy here. And he really kind of pushes that envelope. Milwaukee might be in a tough situation because a lot of people look at Giannis and go, yeah, he's so loyal. He's this, he's that. But how far does that extend to? If he wants to build an empire, a team like the Knicks, you make a lot of money on a team like the Knicks, and they're still playing, and the Knicks have more than enough to go get Giannis as far as assets go. I'm not saying that Giannis will, this offseason demand a trade or something like that, but it's just how patient is he going to be willing to allow Milwaukee to retool this thing, because it might take, 2-3 years for them to do something like that, right? Like, do they go take a chance on like a Kyrie Irving? Maybe, because I think that's what Milwaukee needs. I think Milwaukee needs another star. They need another consistent go-to scorer and a guy that can close down the stretch. So do the Bucks just say, hey, let's let go of Chris Middleton. Let's let go of everybody. Maybe you keep Drew Holiday, try to go make a push at like a Kyrie Irving. I'm just trying to think of who's available. And, you go sign Kyrie, and now you got Drew Holiday, Kyrie Irving, and Giannis. Maybe. It's not that that could be pretty terrifying, right? Especially Kyrie, his ability to close down the stretch, score, because that's kind of what they need, right? Especially after what we saw with Giannis. But outside of that, what moves are they going to be able to make that's going to really turn this team into a contender? I don't think there really is one outside of that, right? You got, Drew Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis, who were a very formidable big three or, top three guys. But Middleton's too hot and cold at times. Drew Holiday is great for the role that he's in, but he's not supposed to be your second best guy. He's there to be, your on-ball defender, your point of attack guy, elite defense, give you, 15 points per game, and there you go. Be an elite two-way guy. That's what you need him for. Not a guy to go and close down the stretch and hit major big shots. Can he? Sure, he's done it in spots, but they need somebody that can just go get a bucket, right? Go do something. And they need, because they're going to, with Giannis, you're going to have the defense, right? You could even still keep Brook Lopez. I think Brook Lopez has been nice for them. But I just think you got to get younger, and you gotta get another guy, right? Giannis, as great as he is, he's very limited in what he could do. And you saw that in the Miami game. You saw that in Miami down the stretch. Miami was able to close out because they're looking to get the ball to Giannis, and Giannis is just panicking. He's afraid to get fouled and shoot free throws. He's almost threw the ball away, and it's just he's very limited in his offensive output. But if you can go get a guy that can just go get a bucket, that opens up so much more for him. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that this is, I get why they did this. It's one of those things that makes a lot of sense why they did this. I just don't think that the coach is solely the problem here. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That this was a good move? Do you think this was a bad move? Who do you want to replace Budenholzer? Like I said, maybe a Nick Nurse. I don't really know who else would be out there that makes a lot of sense for Milwaukee. Maybe they go a younger coach and give somebody an opportunity, but then again, that goes into Giannis. Is Giannis okay with that? What do you think they should do as far as the roster goes? Do you think like maybe they go make a move? Maybe you go make a play at Kyrie or something like that? How do you feel? What are your thoughts are? Do you think that there's a way to fix this? I don't really know. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts, opinions again. Let me know down in the comments.